Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Zondags weekday late show live here on Facebook and YouTube. I'm so glad you're here. If you're here watching this live, please give me a hashtag live and show me the hearts, people. Show me the likes of this show. If you want to be part of this show as well, just put it out in the comments and I'll put your comments into the link itself. Today we're going to talk about something that is very actual, right? It's from the days of today, and that is actually the influence of social media in our personal lives. And for that part, how happy you're gonna be about social media and what it does to your happiness. So thank you so much for being here. We're doing this live, of course. So if you are watching the replay, just maybe skip a couple of seconds into in the juicy stuff of the show, because we're kind of waiting for the people to come in and give them the time to be part of the show as well. So, like I said, my name is Maurice Zondag, and I do the show every day of the week from Monday to Friday, just to help you guys out there to live through this Corona crisis, this COVID crisis that we're in. Full lockdown or semi-lockdown or intelligent lockdown, or how your government is calling it, we have to stay home as much as we can, right? Today we got some new lockdown features happening here in the Netherlands. So museums are getting closed, sport events or sporting, like the gym is going to close for groups lessons like that. And so it's getting worse, right? The whole isolation is getting worse. And of course, we keep believing in the fact that that's the right way to do it, and to get this virus under control and don't have these amounts of deaths and sick people in our hospitals and things like that. And it's interesting because we all have opinions about that. And the funny thing is, when you start browsing about COVID and isolation and what it's all about, there's this diversion on the online webs, right? We have a lot of people who are supporting the governments and the way they treat it, but there's also a lot of people that are not really into what the solution should be, and they have all their own opinions about what the better solution would be. And that's something I believe is powerful from social media, right? All of a sudden, since the dawn of age, the governments made their point, and we just followed the guide there, right? And within our own social circle, we could talk about it and discuss it and have our opinions, but you couldn't send it out to the world, right? To all the thousands of people that are following you or you have your reach with. And these days we do. Social media started back in the day with MySpace, I guess. That's one of the first, I guess, that really, at least for me, that where I started to connect to people that I didn't know. I only knew them online. And then we transferred to Facebook. And of course, if you're still on Facebook, you're kind of old fashioned, because you should be on Instagram these days, right? That's the one. Or even better, TikTok. You got to be on TikTok to be in like the popular ways. And so social media is here to stay, right? It's here to influence our world. And there's actually this new world called influencers. We have influencers, and people who used to be influencers were, Hollywood movie stars. Those were the influencers. What they were wearing and what they were buying, that's what we wanted to buy, right? But now there's this girl from New York City that's doing some TikToks about her life, or this guy from Minnesota that's showing some things on Facebook, and he has become an influencer because he's on Instagram and he shows you great cars he drives and what great places he travels to and things like that. And I'm actually kind of curious what these so-called influencers are doing these days, because if you are an influencer and you're watching this, of course, I'm very honored that you're here with your following network. You're a gem in the thing. So, but how does the life of an influencer look like these days in lockdown, right? I mean, you can't travel, so you can't show all the beautiful travel places that you travel to, right? With all the beautiful pictures and sunsets and beaches and interesting venues you visit. You can't show off your cars because, well, they're in your garage. You can drive them, right? You can go anywhere. So what are you doing? What's a real influencer doing these days? How does he come through his days? Is he sitting in his bedroom as well and showing like, okay, so I got this brand new watch, and look here, this is great great watch, right? I don't know, but I'm curious. Um, and of course, we're all in lockdown, and the only contact that we these days can have are actually using social media, right? That's the way we can reach the friends, we can talk to friends, we can see our family, we can see what they're up to, and we even can see little the picture of the kids and the cat and things like that. And that's a way you can connect with your friends and family. But it's also becoming social news, right? We share the news all day. If it's about the elections, is it true that Trump isn't yet over his COVID disease, or is it? I mean, there's and of course COVID itself, right? Big subject, of course, on social. So there's a lot of discussion going on social networks, especially on the types like Facebook, where you can really have discussions on threads there. I actually saw a thread this evening from a friend of mine, that kind of like spiraled all the way from the lockdown elements that has been featured today to how to cure cancer. I mean, it's so funny if you look at discussions like that, not specifically this one, but in general, if you look like at discussions and you hear about people talking about that kind of stuff, it seems that like all of these people are all of a sudden experts in viruses and medicine and how the government works and how political agendas are and how things actually work these days, right? And I never knew these kind of things, right? And it's an interesting discussion, because with everyone having a voice, does it mean that we also should listen to all these voices then? I mean, I don't know. Does it? Right? It's just a question I ask. What it does mean, I think, is that it gives us the opportunity to be very, very, very prominent and very decisive on the things that we read and the things that we consume. Right? We talked about that before in other shows as well. The news you take into yourself, the things you read, the things you start thinking about, is actually influencing how you feel. So if you read all the news all day long, you have CNN on the background and news radio on as well, and you watch YouTube videos on the latest discoveries on whatever news there is out there, that's going to be your perspective of the world, right? So you could create a situation where you indeed think that the government is all against us, that there's this network of awful people doing awful things, and that they are the big people in our governments, and they want to control us, and they want to do all stuff to us, and it's horrible, right? In what kind of world are we living? I mean, shouldn't you just like go to some deserted island and live your life there? I mean, and is that even possible? Or aren't there even drones flying over, or satellites that keep watching you, what you're doing? It's kind of scary if you think about that like that, right? If you think about those kind of things that are happening in the world and that are influencing you and me. And it's interesting. I've read this study the other day, which is about a social phenomenon called the egocentrism, and that means that we have the tendency to view ourselves as the most important person in the world, which is in the end a good thing, because it all starts with you, right? And we talked about that yesterday. It all starts with you, so you should take care of yourself and be sure that you're healthy and that you're mentally healthy, and then you can do stuff for others, right? But the world doesn't goes around about you, right? You're just one very small piece of a big universe, and let's just call it the planet itself with 7.8 billion people. That's you're just one small part in that whole universe, and not let alone talk about the entire universe, right? Which is so big we can't even grasp how big that really is. So it's not all about you, and it's not all about how you are being controlled by someone else. I believe strongly that that's a very easy way to to be okay with everything that's happening out there and not having to do anything. And it's easy to complain, right? That's what we do. We gossip, we complain. That's easy, because it sets the responsibility of things to others. If you gossip about people, it pulls away about your own faults, right? It pulls away from the mistakes you make or the things that you're not doing that you should be doing. It's about how bad other people are and what they're doing and how scandalous that is. And if you're actually creating a victim role, um, you're being a victim of the situation, where it also means that you're not responsible for the situation, because you're the victim. So if you're a victim, you can't do anything about it, right? Because you're like the victim. And we got our regular guest here, Johan. Thank you for being here again. Says, indeed, this is also well described in the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I would highly recommend that you read that book, because it is so on the spot on these things, and it makes you really think about how we think about ourselves and how we think about the world. So let's just do this little experiment. And I do this with my clients as well, when they are insecure about themselves and they often think that people judge them, right, by the way they look or the way they do or they act. So if, for example, I had this client, and he was really scared of, showing himself out there. He wanted to learn about how to seduce women, and we went out to a bar, and he just wanted to stand in a corner and just hold his beer, and that's it. He didn't really want to show up in the world there. And I asked him, what makes you think of that? Why do you think like that? What's going on in your mind? And he said, I'm afraid that people will judge me, that they will they will reject me because of what I do or what I say, or things like that. So I asked him this question, and I said, and that's the question I'm going to ask you too. If you have gone outside today for the regular groceries or the little walk you do every day, right? How many people did you see? How many people did you encounter, passed by, met, right? You could, if you would, you could have started a conversation with a random person, whatever. How many people are it? Maybe 10, 20. If you're going to a supermarket, maybe 30, right? Including the cashiers, the employees there, the bus driver, maybe if you're going to work still, or if you're working in a hospital, or your clients or your patients and everyone that's going on there. So how many people have you actually seen today, or would have been possible to encounter with? Is it like 5 or 10 or 30 or 50, maybe even 100 if you're in a crowded place over the day? How many of these people do you really remember? What they were wearing, what they looked like, how they sounded like? Maybe 2 or 3, like indeed the cashier at the takeout there, or the neighbor that you greeted this morning when you walked your dog, or it's just a couple of people, right? Because you don't give a fuck about others. And let me break the news, and that's what Mark Manson also says in this book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. They don't give a fuck about you too, right? So it's not all about you. So if you walk outdoors and you dress the way you like to dress, and you show up in the world the way you want to show up, nobody gives a fuck. Really, nobody gives a fuck. Your mother gives a fuck, right? And your kids do, and your family, the close ones, they give a fuck. So you should, you can depend on that and say, okay, the feedback I get from them, that's something I process for myself, and I do something with that. But the fact that you see someone looking at you, he's probably not even looking at you consciously, right? He just sees you passing by. He doesn't give a fuck. So it doesn't really matter what's going on in the world, and it doesn't really matter what your point of view is that. And what gives you the right to tell the world as much as you can, with all your influence, right, with all your followers, to state your opinion about things? Why? Why do you think that that's an important thing to share, right? That's something that's happening because of social media. In social media, we are, almost feel obliged to tell everyone what we think about things, or show the world how great of a life we have. and maybe even little polish it a bit so it doesn't really look that bad, and you take the picture from the right angle so you don't see the mess laying around, right? So how open are you really? And I do that too. I mean, this is the good look, right? This is the clean look. And I can be open to you, right? If I just show you just a little bit about the other side of the room, which is not made up for this backdrop and this presentation. And I did it on purpose because I wanted to look good, right? I wanted to make this look good in a way. So I made sure that there's a blue light over here, so I get a little bluish light on my left, and I got the pink light over there, so there's this little colorful there. And I even show you a little bit of the microphone here because it's a live show, right? I wanted to create that as well. But if I just turn the camera a bit, you see my television there, and there are lights there, and there's a lot of stacks there with papers and stuff and things like that. But that doesn't really look good on the pictures, right? I don't want to show you that per se. So I just wanted to show you the good pictures. And that's what we do all day, right? We show the good pictures of who we are and who we want to be shown off, because we think that people will judge us by the way what they see, right? And that's a misconception. And that is actually withholding you from creating your own life and creating your own terms on how to live your life. Because if you're being influenced by things like that all the time, every minute of the day, whatever you're doing, and you're wondering, what I'm doing, what do others think of that? Could be at your job, right? You could have the whole idea that whatever you're doing, you should do it in a certain way so your boss won't complain about it for you, or won't, you don't ask the questions on how to do that because, he might think you're dumb or you're stupid because you asked the question, right? But the truth is that's not the case. If you are asking questions and you actually learn from those questions, right, that you ask, you get better, right? You learn stuff. And if you keep doing it in your own way and all of a sudden it really explodes and your boss has to intervene, then you're fucked up, right? Because then you fucked up. So you should be open and authentic about who you are and what your guilty pleasures are and what you like and what you don't like. If you're just keeping on the mask for everyone because you think that they think that you are in a certain way because you act in a certain way, that's stupid. Because you don't know what other people think, right? So if I think, I should, I don't know, if I should wear a shirt and I should wear a jacket and a tie. So when I do these shows like this, they will think that I'm a real professional and that I know my stuff, right? And yes, there are scientific, views on things, how dressing should make you present yourself to the others. So it could work, right? But I don't know what you're thinking. So I could think I know what you're knowing or what you're thinking, but I don't know what you're thinking because you're thinking it. And if I think what you think, it's still me thinking for you. And it's probably not exactly what you're actually thinking, because we can't mind read everyone exactly on what they're actually thinking, right? Makes sense what I'm saying here, right? So when you start being influenced by others all the time, right? Of course, we're all being influenced by others, but it's all about balance there. How much do you take in from discussions online or on even talk shows, right? Where all these people that you've never seen before all of a sudden are the experts on different topics that are actual or newsworthy today. Be very skeptical about what you take in as information, and be very specific on the sources that you do trust and that you do want to read about. So if you want to know more about the virus and all the things that are happening on it, be sure you're having an open view on it and not define your opinion already and try to find the sources that will only, prove your situation right, and then you can say, I've read it all over there, over the place. It's all over there. And that's actually one thing that I think is a big gap in the whole social media stuff. The algorithms show you the things that you like, right? Which is cool, because if I want to watch a YouTube video, I'd like to be offered a video that I like, right? Makes sense, of course. But systems like Facebook and Instagram as well, with all the thousands of friends you have, you're only seeing a bunch of them, right? And those are the ones that you encounter with, that you discuss with, the pages you like, the comments you like. Those are the ones you see. So it's kind of filtering out everyone that's not agreeable with you, because those are the ones you agree with, right? You like or dislike or engage with. And everyone that you don't find interesting, he or she doesn't show up in your timeline. So it's kind of narrowing your point of view on things. And that's actually, I believe, one of the big gaps in social media, because that's how that happens. So as a conclusion for today's show, social media, is it a curse or is it a blessing? Is it a way to connect with your friends and family, really connect with them and ask them how they're doing in these difficult times? Is it a way to see those cute pictures of your niece or your nephews or your great aunt living in Timbuktu or wherever? Or is it a curse where you're getting all these influences of things that isn't helping you gaining a happy life, because it's spoiling you, it's throwing garbage at you of the things that will only make you scared or make you anxious about the world, and that Big Brother is watching you, and that it's all a conspiracy theory, and 5G is there to take you home at a UFO to, be accompanied by Elon Musk on this trip to Mars, whatever, right? It's good to be critical. It's good to be very specific on the things that you discover and you want to read about and learn about, but be realistic. It's not all about you. So maybe tone down a little bit sometimes, let discussions just be. And if you think you actually can add something because it's an area you actually quite, know a lot of, it's your profession or something you've studied or things like that, that makes you an authority to actually show the opinion, I think. But again, that's my opinion, and you can have another opinion. And that's, again, the beauty of the modern days, that we can have all our own opinions and views on things. And I am here to help you with how you can create a better, more happy and fulfilled life within yourself. And the things that I've discovered is that it's not helping you if you're gaining that kind of garbage into your life. That's not helping you. That's only making you think about things that are worse or that are bad or that are crazy out there. And maybe it is, right? Maybe there is this Illuminati that is actually ruling the world. So yeah, maybe I'm a little bit of naive here, but I have my job, I have my income, I have my home, I have my food, I have my life, I have my hobbies, I have my friends, my families. Who cares if that's the case? And if you do care, kudos, right? Make it your life work to fight it and to be Don Quixote on the treadmills. But not everyone should do that if it's not helping them. If they're only complaining and if they're only bashing it out like, oh, it's so bad and it's worse and it's my God and how is it happening, that's not helping. If you want to help, start doing. Complaining, gossiping doesn't help. So that's only pushing your responsibility away. So for your own sake, stop doing that and focus on the things you can achieve and the things you can add on to the world. And even if that's so close as saying hi to your neighbor and helping him or her with the daily groceries, because she's too old to do that. So thanks again for watching. Thank you so much for being here. If you like these kind of programs, please subscribe to the show. Give me a like if you're watching the replay. Also put it out in the comments as a hashtag replay. That helps the algorithm. So, we're going to use the algorithms as well to give everyone that is searching for things like this and give them the right type of content that they can, that's helpful for them. So if you want to be part of that, if you want to be part of the solution there, please support my stuff that I do here. And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow again on another day during the week of the Zondags Weekday live show. So thanks again, and I'll see you guys then. Bye-bye.